Well, hi there. It's Javier Correa, the Tax Terminator, and today I'm here in Panama City, more specifically in my favorite neighborhood of Costa del Este. And today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite jurisdictions to set up a corporation, to set up a company, both for operational purposes and for holding purposes. And what a surprise, it's Panama. So let's talk about that today. I tell you, I never get tired of Panama City. Great people, friendly people, wonderful food, Miami lifestyle, but without the taxes and without the overregulation and all the complicated things and all the baggage that comes with the United States. And this is as a person who loves Miami. Listen, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I'm a big lover of the city of Miami, and Panama City definitely is very reminiscent of it. And what better place to showcase that than right here in a beautiful rooftop in Panama City by the pool and overlooking the wonderful Pacific Ocean. Now, today's topic, more specifically from the R&D team, is Panamanian companies. What are they useful for? What can be done with them? What are the advantages of establishing a Panama company? And let me tell you, there are several. So Panama is a very, very interesting jurisdiction from many different points of view. The first thing I would like to mention that is great about Panamanian companies is the privacy. So if you're that kind of person that is looking for a Panamanian holding entity because you believe that it's going to help protect your assets, you're completely right. So here in Panama, the shareholder information of corporations, or as we call them in Spanish, sociedades anónimas, is completely confidential. Only your registered agent and the shareholders themselves and the board of directors of the company actually know who the shareholders are. Now, is it impossible to get that information if you're somebody from the outside, maybe a creditor, maybe a former spouse, maybe somebody who's looking to do wrong things to you, to sue you? Not impossible, but extremely difficult. You would need a court order to actually obtain that information. So you can say safely that the level of privacy and confidentiality here in Panama City is quite high, very, very high. In addition to that, something I find very interesting that goes along with the whole privacy angle of Panamanian companies is that they issue old school shares. That's something that, for example, me as a lawyer, I find absolutely fascinating. And it's very interesting. So when you start a Panamanian company here, you actually get share certificates, like actual piece of paper that indicates you're the shareholder of a company, which is something that looks out of a bygone era. It's almost retro in many ways, and I find that absolutely fascinating. It's just a small detail that I wanted to add for everyone's information. In addition to that, the other thing I would love to mention about Panamanian companies is the access to banking. So Panama, as a long-standing financial hub in the Americas, has a very decent financial system. Now, would I classify Panama as a top-tier A-plus financial hub? Maybe not entirely. I would say places like Switzerland, places like Singapore are definitely more robust. However, Panama comes in at a solid B+ to A-, depending on the financial institution you want to bank with. But the important thing here is that Panamanian companies can still take advantage of all the major tax benefits that come with the Panamanian tax system without losing the ability to bank here. So in some other cases, like for example, Singapore or in some other jurisdictions, in order to keep your company tax friendly, you have to avoid banking in the same jurisdiction where it's incorporated. That's not the case for Panama. A Panamanian company can have all the Panamanian accounts it wants and still remain optimal from a tax perspective, whether it be a holding company or an operating company. In addition to that, the other interesting thing about banking and Panamanian companies is that there are some banks in the United States, in Puerto Rico, in the Bahamas, and even in Switzerland that'll take Panamanian entities. So if you're looking for that Panamanian company to operate your business and you're looking to bank in another jurisdiction like the ones I just mentioned, or if it's a holding company and you're looking to place your wealth in a major wealth management hub like Switzerland, then it's definitely possible with a Panamanian company. Now, obviously, being the tax terminator, I do have to take a moment to mention this because this is the big one, tax savings. So Panamanian companies are great because they operate under the Panamanian system of territorial taxation, which means that foreign source income is not taxable in Panama. It's not a loophole. It's not an exemption. It's not, something whereby the company's operating in a certain way. And if I do all of this and I try to avoid that, then definitely it works. In this case, it's something written down in in the law. It's the way the Panamanian system works. Simply, foreign sourced income is not taxable. So what does that mean? If you have a stock portfolio, for example, in the United States, and you're collecting dividend payments, or you're playing to get those capital gains. Same thing if you have an investment portfolio in the UK or elsewhere in the world, and you hold it through a Panamanian entity, then guess what? All of the income that those investments generate are tax-free in Panama. In addition to that, if you're operating an active trader business and if you're actively selling to clients, well, option number one, if you have a Panamanian company and you perform all of your work outside of Panama, then guess what? All that income, foreign source, tax-free. And one of the things that I love about Panama, and in fact, in one of my videos, I did mention this, and I actually believe I explained as one of the major reasons why I believe Panama is the best territorial tax country to live in. Panama has some very interesting provisions in its laws that actually make it possible to run certain businesses from Panamanian soil and still have that income generated by that business considered foreign source income. So there are two major cases. One is where you are actively trading international goods. So if you buy goods in country A and you sell them in country B and those goods never enter Panama, then that income is considered foreign source. In addition to that, if you simply run an international business from a Panamanian office and you're providing services to clients abroad and those services are taken advantage of in a foreign jurisdiction, then guess what? That income is also foreign source. So if you're in any of these scenarios, a Panamanian entity can make a lot of sense for your business or for your investments. The other thing that I would like to highlight and mention is that here in Panama, incorporation is much smoother than in all places, than other places in Latin America. Now, be mindful of the fact that unlike places like the United States, where you can start an LLC basically online with just a couple of clicks, that won't be the case in Panama. Latin America is still, more bureaucratic, but Panama definitely stands out as the best alternative in the region. You can have a Panamanian company incorporated in a matter of maybe 1 week, a week and a half, once the paperwork is done. The other thing that is important to mention is that Panama has come a long way since the Panama Papers. So a lot of people come to me and say, well, Javier, that's all nice, that's all good, you're talking about all these advantages, but ultimately, the Panama Papers, Mossack Fonseca, all of this, it makes it difficult to do business through a Panamanian entity. And the reality is that for a while, of course, there was some bit of a reputational damage to Panama as a jurisdiction. But being here, being on site in Panama, having spoken to bankers, having met with colleagues of mine here in this country, I can tell you that that time is long gone. Panamanian entities, of course, are still entities that are surveyed, especially if you're still in a high tax country and you start a Panamanian company. You do have to report your foreign entities. Americans, always a special shout out to you because you have citizenship-based taxation. Essentially, any CFC rules follow you wherever you go. But provided that you're reporting everything, that everything is done correctly, then you should have no issues doing your business through a Panamanian entity. And again, this applies to US citizens no matter where you are, or to tax residents of places like Canada or like most countries in the European Union, as well as the United Kingdom. One of the other things that makes Panamanian companies so attractive is also, number one, they can have one or multiple shareholders. These shareholders can be companies or they can be individuals, natural persons. Companies can be registered basically anywhere in the world, and the individual shareholders, i.e. the natural human beings who are also shareholders of Panamanian entities, can be citizens and nationals of basically any country on earth, barring, very few exceptions. Proving once again that Panamanian entities are highly flexible and highly adaptable to global international investors and entrepreneurs. Panama has more economic substance. I think that one of the things that often comes to mind when we talk about companies in the Caribbean, for example, be they Nevis, British Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands, is that in many cases, people find it difficult to actually have economic substance on these islands. And when you go and you speak to bankers, in many cases, when they look at these companies, they assume there is no economic substance. Whereas here in Panama, you have a bustling city. You literally have the Miami of Latin America right there. And that means that your Panamanian company can very easily show and claim that it has economic substance here by either leasing an office, hiring freelancers here, opening bank accounts here, and so forth. So overall, Panamanian entities are an excellent alternative to Caribbean companies. They're a great alternative for those wishing to do business in Latin America, and also a great alternative to be a bridge company between Latin America and somewhere in the US, particularly Miami, which is technically the gateway to Latin America for US investors, or the gateway to the US for Latin American investors, depending on, of course, how you look at it. So there you have it. Panama, a ton of advantages. There's privacy. There's good legal procedures. There's a robust legal system that actually works. You have on-site presence of law firms, accounting firms that are able to help you. And save the best for last, you do have the benefits of being able to claim certain immigration benefits if you start a Panamanian company. So, depending on who you are, where you're from, different types of residence permits could apply to you. But one of the main things that I love about starting a company in Panama is that if you are on the list of the friendly nations of Panama, simply by starting the Panamanian company and giving yourself a work contract, you could potentially obtain a friendly nations visa. You get 2 years of temporary residence in Panama, and after that, you're permanent resident and you're working towards citizenship. If you're not on the friendly nations list, you could potentially apply for a Marrakesh Agreement temporary residence. It's good for 1 year and you can renew it constantly. So it's also a way to emigrate here legally. So basically, we're in a situation where Panamanian companies can give you immigration benefits, they can give you privacy benefits, they can give you tax benefits. They allow you to access banking, not only in Panama, but also in other jurisdictions around the world, like the United States, like the Bahamas, like Switzerland, potentially the Cayman Islands also comes to mind. And so overall, there are a ton of benefits to holding assets or to doing business through a Panamanian entity. Now, is the Panamanian entity right for you? It'll really depend on what type of business you're running. It'll really depend on your client profile. It'll really depend on who your clients are, but it should definitely be on your radar. So if you're interested in potentially looking at starting a Panamanian corporation to run your business or hold your assets, or a BVI company, or a Cayman Islands company, or a Nevis company, or maybe you want to compare all those options to see which one is best for you, then be sure to go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, and we'll be more than happy to help you. This is the Tax Terminator. I'll see you in the next video.